So my name is Niamh Loughlin and I am a dance artist, which means I perform, I make things and I teach. So I work in lots of different settings. I work in the usual kind of theatre settings with children and with adults, but I also work in dance for health settings. So I've done a lot of work in the Edinburgh Children's Hospital, working bedside with individual children, and that was super magical, and it really changes your relationship with dance, because it might just be that kid can't even sit up in bed and they're just moving their hands, but their whole face is lit up and they're much happier when you leave. And I also work with older adults with different health conditions, and with teenagers with disabilities, and yeah, everyone just loves to dance and listen to music. So my passion is definitely choreographing with other dancers and with other people. And I think when I choreograph, I work with what the dancer brings, what their body likes to do and who they are that day. And then I direct within those kind of parameters. But I get really excited for all the stories that my brain tells me within their movement, and drawing those out and making new stories. I think when you're an improviser, nothing's ever good or bad, everything just is, which is a great way to work with people, because you're never thinking about what they lack or what they're not doing. You're always there with what they're doing and what they're bringing that day, which made things like lockdowns easier, because you were just working within the rules that existed. So you were making art in your house or in your garden, or you were proposing art that other people could do within their house. So with dance, I get really excited to make new languages of moving, and they're often inspired by different creatures or fairy tale creatures or mythological creatures. So with this one, with a giant, it's really exciting to mix movement with a kind of theatricality that feels like a giant, but in this really subtle way that dance serves the narrative. I've done that with other stories too. So my most recent work was inspired by a real Irish woman from Tipperary called Bridget Cleary, who was burned to death by her husband in 1895 for not eating a third piece of toast, for being too stylish, and for being 2 inches too tall to be his wife. And so this guy, Michael Cleary, thought that she'd been swapped for a fairy. And the story's so visual, when I came across it, I couldn't not make work about it. But it's very gruesome as well. But I got really excited to make this subtle language with the aim of an ambiguity for the audience of, was she a human or was she a fairy? And I hope when the audience leaves, they're not quite sure. So that piece is called A Changeling Wife. So I guess my favourite part about dancing myself is improvising, because when you start to listen, which I think dance demands a lot of listening, you realise that you're a completely different person every day. And so to dance with that listening and serving that person you are that day is always exciting.